So when I first started looking for innovations to assist me in my research projects, I was looking for a way to wirelessly and continuously record cardiorespiratory parameters, specifically for infant and toddler populations. So it had to be easy enough and comfortable enough for them to wear it overnight, because I wanted to record this while they were sleeping. The biggest challenges to my project are lost or missing data. It's so difficult to find parents and infants who are willing to participate, so it's really crucial that the equipment work when I go drop it off and that I can collect as much data as possible. When I first began investigating remote monitoring options, I looked across commercial, clinical, and research devices. So the commercial options were things like wearable baby monitors, whereas the clinical and research ones, I have research-based actigraphs that I've already been using. And this was by far the best option and the one that allowed for the most flexibility for me. I always had fairly non-traditional plans for implementing the patient status engine into my workflow. So once we got things in line, it was very easy to implement. The Lifeguard server is highly secure, which ensures my participants' privacy, and that's very important to us, as all of my research protocols need to be approved by the institutional review board. So it was really just a perfect match all in all, from implementation to data storage. My project is centered around state scoring in infant sleep in the least intrusive way possible. So each of us, from infants to adults, cycle through two primary states when we're sleeping, REM and non-REM. These states have different physiological patterns, from cardiorespiratory rates to brain activity. Typically, to score sleep states, infants need to go on polysomnography. So this means they sleep in a lab and they're attached to a lot of different physiological sensors. And as you can imagine, this is really inconvenient and can actually alter their typical sleep patterns, because they're sleeping in this unfamiliar environment attached to so many sensors. So what I've done is developed, using the PSE, a very simple and bare bones version of sleep measurement that can be applied by parents right in the home. So I use the Lifetouch sensors to continuously record heart and respiration rates for up to 5 nights of data collection. And a data collection period of this length, resulting in data that can be state coded, is really quite rare with this population, and it can teach us a lot about the developmental trajectory of sleep states. I transport it to families' homes for data collections, but work and analyze the data from my university. The IT team at Isansys has been really accommodating and helpful in making the system meet those specifications and work seamlessly with my research protocol. The sensors in the Gateway tablet are very straightforward. I'm consistently dropping these off to parents and giving them a very brief training on how to apply the sensors, and I'm still able to collect multiple nights of heart and respiration data. So it's not just easy for me to use, but also for parents who have no specific clinical or research training. Thus far, I've had 12 infants participated and recorded about 60 nights of data. So I would call it very successful thus far. The most important factors for me when implementing the patient status engine were the ease of use and portability. It was crucial that the sensors were comfortable enough for infants and toddlers to ignore them once they were put on, and that I could physically deliver the equipment into families' homes. And this has become even more important with the onset of COVID-19, because we are minimizing in-person contact as much as possible. In terms of patient outcomes, is most closely related to the parent feedback that I get after they participate. Especially early on, I would always ask debriefing questions after parents participated, such as, how comfortable was your child wearing the sensors at night? Did you run into any problems while participating? Was anything confusing for you? I've received a lot of positive responses. Several parents remarked they found it interesting to look at the Gateway and see their child's heart and respiration rates in real time. The greatest barriers were related to portability for me. So the system wasn't designed to bounce from house to house, so there was a little bit of trial and error involved as we solved these problems. We worked recently to do the first setup that relied 100% on VPN connection, which is pretty amazing that we were able to work all of this out. So I can now do everything remotely. I'm no longer required to go to the university to analyze the data, but at no point does this compromise data security, which, as I mentioned before, is really paramount for this project. You can go in and you can export the data as an Excel file and get minute-by-minute responses for heart rate and respiration. And that's been really key for me as I try to write up code to automatically score these sleep states. But there's also a really nice visual component. So visual state scoring is another methodology for coding sleep state data. And the interface, once you're on the server for looking at historical data, the way that you can zoom in and out on it, and follow the cursor along as it goes minute by minute has been really convenient for me as a way to analyze the data. And it provides a way for me to run reliability on myself and see if, as a person looking through the data and coding it, do I get the same thing as my computer codes do when that codes it automatically? I think that this can really transform the way that we do sleep research. So sleep occurs in a context with bedtime routines, natural caregiver interactions, and favorite snuggly toys. Stripping that away and having kids go into a sleep lab for a polysomnography has implications for the quality of our data and the conclusions that we can draw from that data. From a more general perspective, I have witnessed the ease and fidelity with which this equipment can be used in the home by parents who have no specific medical expertise. And I believe this technology could greatly improve patients' comfortability as they undergo continuous care or data collection.